For Off the Block, I'm Vinny Lopes, and we are now joined by UC Irvine head coach David Kniffin after some big news came out this week as UC Irvine will no longer be a part of the MPSF starting in 2018. They are joining 5 other teams to start the Big West Conference for men's volleyball. And coach, have to ask, what's your feeling about knowing that men's volleyball is coming to the Big West?
Well, we're excited. It's an uncertain future, but what's nice is we've got schools now that have a guaranteed future, and I don't think there's any program more excited than a school like Cal State Northridge, who, ultimately had their program dropped at one point and it came back, and now they've got a commitment from the University of the Conference that these sports, men's volleyball at these institutions are on the protected list. They're not going anywhere. And then there's all kinds of other things that come from this that I think will be positive. But right out of the gate, this is maybe the single most exciting thing to happen to men's volleyball that I've been around for.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, because you've been on the inside of this for a little bit. There's always been that speculation and talk that this could happen. But when did you feel that this was going to happen, and that this really could gain momentum and happen?
I think probably about 2 years ago, we were on just an MPSF coaches conference call, and we're talking about growth, we're talking about teams, we're talking about the realities of the challenge of adding into the MPSF. Being the 13th team to come into the conference is really daunting for anyone, and so I think that's when it really started to become real that we needed to make a push. When a few of the coaches in the Big West and a few of the administrators in the Big West started having those conversations and talking about how we could grow and protect the sport. There's just so many people that were involved in this that probably won't get credit for making the pushes at an administrative level way above us, but the focus and the vision of some of our administrators has just been huge in this process. I think when that started to surface, and it wasn't just a coach's conversation anymore, that's when it became, I think, real. And I think that was probably 2 years ago now.
Yeah. And, I want to ask, because it's been about 48 hours since the news has come out, what's been the reaction from players and just people in the UC Irvine community about this news?
Yeah, excitement and curiosity. No one knows exactly what this is going to look like, how this will reshape and restructure volleyball. Everybody's excited because we now have legitimate opportunity for the growth of the game on the West Coast. We're splitting into basically 2 conferences. So there'll be the MPSF, which will be the teams that are not Big West schools that will remain in the MPSF, which will continue to give a home to those universities that sponsor teams that don't have an official conference membership, which is the intention of the MPSF. So we're hopeful that as some of these schools become NCAA eligible, that have started programs, Division II or Division I schools, they will be able to join into the MPSF. There's talk about potentially bringing in maybe even a school or schools that are in other conferences that might join up to maybe not create new growth, but just redistribute to make men's volleyball a little bit more regionally balanced in terms of the geography and travel, which helps everyone's travel budgets. So it would be, obviously I'm talking around like a Grand Canyon potentially, coming into a West Coast conference of some sort, as opposed to, having that program travel all the way across the country to play the Midwest teams and vice versa. So, making volleyball more economically viable for programs that either are in existence or maybe looking to add would be another huge step for us.
And, your 5 teams right now joining you in the Big West, you're very familiar with them. They're all coming from the MPSF. But I just want to ask you, do you feel like you guys are going to be perhaps the favorite in those first couple of years, just with the pedigree that you guys have and the national championships that you've accumulated and the success that you've had in recent years?
I think the Big West would hope so. Yeah. I think that's something that a conference is looking for when they sponsor a sport like this. They're looking at Big West teams and the patterns of success that Big West teams have demonstrated against all these other schools from varying conferences. And they're absolutely hoping that the Big West becomes, maybe the Big West schools maintain relevancy in the championship conversations that are legitimately competing for national championships. I don't think anything really changes. I think the teams that are strong will be strong. I think there's some benefits for the opportunity to play more teams and test yourself early against other conferences and conference teams now. Just because we will have a little bit more space in the schedule. We're obviously only talking about a 10-team round robin, so there will be more cross-conference play early, which is something I think all of us have always been excited about. And we'll just see. I just think we'll get to see more early, but I don't know that it'll really change favoritism going into the year.
All right. Well, and talking about, on the non-conference schedule, I know that in recent years you've kind of been that master putting together a non-conference schedule. You look at it now, potentially have 18 to 20 open dates to figure that out. Do you view that as a challenge? Do you think that's exciting for you? How do you kind of view that as, really having to piece together a schedule where the majority of the matches are non-conference as opposed to the majority of the matches being conference?
Well, it'll be a challenge. There's no question. A lot of it comes down to what your intentions are with your non-conference schedule. And I think some of us are out there traveling and playing because we view that as a valuable part of the student athlete experience and what we're doing. So it gives us the flexibility to move around a little bit more. There's some kind of iconic rivalry matchups in men's volleyball. The teams that they draw good crowds for each other. And we'll try to sustain those as well. And then obviously the influence of things like RPI in the field of six, and we'll ultimately be going back down to one at-large bid. So, there will be some thought about that. But ultimately, I don't know that it changes a lot for us. We want our swings in the conference tournaments to get us in there, and if we need to use the back door to get in, then hopefully we've played tough enough schedule and we've convinced people that we're worthy. But I think the big thing and the place that I'm cautiously optimistic is that we will be able to actually have teams travel around and play each other and create good opportunities on primetime nights to create great environments for volleyball and events that people want to go to. And I'm hopeful that all of the coaches will find ways to get around and compete. And where we may take a hit on an RPI number in our schedule here and there, I'm hopeful that we'll still be able to balance out the schedule and everybody will be able to fill out the competition dates they need to remain relevant at their own institution.
Right. And Coach, I want to take you away for a second a little bit from the Big West discussion, but talking more immediate about this offseason. I know last year you had a great opportunity to coach some international volleyball and the World University Games. What is the offseason looking like for you this year, and any other potential coaching opportunities for you with USA Volleyball this year?
No, nothing real formal right now. I'll be present at HP with kind of the youth division there, and something I try to get out and do. It's turned into a nice event for younger competitors that haven't had enough volleyball throughout the year. It gives them a chance to play in July, and otherwise we're just like most of the coaches recruiting and getting ready for the next year.
Well, I do have to ask you, you were the most beat-up team in the history of NCAA volleyball last year with all the injuries. Are all your players finally healthy, or are they still recovering from some of the grind of the season?
I think that recovery process will go on for a while. But we've got the summertime, and I know the guys that were injured are motivated to get back. We're fortunate. No one sustained career-ending injuries. We're just still dealing with that season of adversity and hopefully growing and getting better from it.
All right, Coach. And final question, we'll let you go on this. I know we're 8 months away or 7 months away from the start of the 2017 season, but what's kind of your message that you have for UC Irvine fans moving into this offseason as people start gearing up for 2017?
Well, I think we'll be an exciting and dynamic team to watch. I mean, I think we'll come back stronger and healthier, and I honestly believe we'll be that team that people were hoping we would be this year. But it's exciting. I think like always we'll create a big environment, and there will be some added hype around this season for us. This is and for everyone in the country, because this is the last year year of the MPSF, and I think it'd be fun to chase down that MPSF title in its final year and launch into the Big West with that in mind. So that's something that'll be on my mind, and I would think on the minds of many other teams and coaches and student athletes that are out there.